What exactly do you want to be when you grow up? This is something that I ask people often, and I use it in different contexts, right? So somebody sits down in my chair and I'm getting ready to do their hair, and I'm like, "So, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And it's a funny way to be able to get them outside their heads because sometimes people don't know if they want to be a blonde or a redhead, or sometimes the world is just so fast that we gotta just ask a curveball question so that we get a real answer. Think about it. How often do people say, "How are you?" And in your head, you know they don't want the real answer. Or you might say, "How are you?" And in your head, you're like, "Please don't answer, please don't answer, please don't answer." And my last, but my favorite one is the, "How are you?" And then the response back is, "Not appropriate." So let's hear it. It goes, "How are you?" And then the response is, "Thanks, you too." Because I've definitely done that one a few times. Probably because I live in my head most of the time. I digress. So I've been thinking about, what do I want to be when I grow up? And it might seem like that's an easy question for me, but I need to backtrack a bit because I never got that choice. You see, 20 years ago, albeit 16 years ago, I got discharged from the military and sent home. So 17 years ago, I was graduating boot camp and I was getting ready to be an avionics technician, which means that I would work on airplanes and I'd work on the basically the dashboard, like the electronic dashboards for them. And I, for the first time in my life, felt proud of myself. I wore a uniform and I was going to serve my country, and I knew what my place was. Well, fast forward, and I had some medical issues, and I probably wasn't pulling my weight the way I should. And they said, "Actually, you're not going to work. We need to send you home." So I fought it for a year because I didn't want to come home. Coming home meant that I was a failure. Coming home meant that I had to find my way, and I didn't know what that was. The only thing I knew how to do was be angry and to yell at people and point at fingers and have a chip on my shoulder. So I got a leave of absence before I was discharged to come home and set up my new life. And for those of you that might be in your 30s and 40s, I don't know if you remember, but picking your life at 20, that was pressure. And partially because I don't think I registered a life past 20. I don't think I ever looked at what 30 could look like because in my head, I failed. I wasn't worth anything. And I had no right to live a good life. I was a fuck up. So whatever options I had were limited. And when I was in high school, I had screwed up so much. I screwed up for myself. Not anybody else did it for me. I was mouthy and I didn't always show up to class and I never turned in my assignments. Like, I screwed up my own high school career. And no one offered me college. No one sat down and said, "Here are the college packets you could go to, and here's your options for what you could do when you grow up, and here's what kind of college degrees and what they could do for you." That was never on the table for me. My way out of small town USA was to join the military, and it was the only way to get away from abuse. I wanted to run away. So I got to run away. I got to feel proud of myself. I got to figure out that maybe I was actually smart at something. And then I was being shipped home. All puns intended, because I was in the Navy. So I'll never forget walking into Johnny Logan. And as I walked into Johnny Logan, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I knew that I didn't want to go to a 4-year school because I was bad at school. Actually, I'll take that even a step further. I thought I was bad at learning. I thought I was stupid. And so going to a 4-year school sounded horrible and like a waste of somebody's money. I wasn't going to get the full military funding for schooling, so realistically, I couldn't afford a whole lot. I had already shot my credit into the crapper because I bought a car while I was in the military that I couldn't afford when I came home. So my options were limited. And when I walked in, this person said, I think you should be a cosmetologist. I calls him a what? Cosmetologist. I said, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm hearing you clearly. You want me to be a what? And they said, well, we think you might be really good at hair. Like, you seem artsy and you don't want to go to school for 4 years. And, like, you could make a decent living doing this. And I had 2 responses. One, you are aware I'm wearing men's clothing right now. I don't have makeup on. I'm not wearing female clothing. Like, you want me to go be part of the beauty industry? And then my second thought was, aren't they all ditzes? Y'all, I've been eating crow for 16 years. I have met the smartest, most giving, most intelligent people in this profession than I've ever met in my whole life. They live to serve people and they have fun doing it. That's kind of sick if you think about it. Like, it's amazing. So I went from knowing what I wanted to do to tripping into a really beautiful career that I had no idea existed, and eating some crow and some humbling in the process. And when I left the military, I said, okay, well, I was joining the military to figure out what I really wanted to be, and I was going to spend 20 years in. I had my officer packet in to become a candidate at the point that they discharged me. So all of that was gone. But you know what? I'm going to come home, and 20 years from now, I'm going to retire, and I'm going to live my second life. So whatever I do for the next 20 years is fine, and at 38, I'll redo this, or 39, I'll redo this. So I'm getting ready to turn 36. And I don't know that I feel like there's a ticking time bomb, because at 19, I thought I was going to have it all figured out in 20 years. Man, being that 19-year-old version of myself, we duke it out often. If you guys ever know what that feels like, drop it below. Either drop it in the comments or send me a DM. Like, is there an age that you just want to go back and be like, what were you doing? Why? Again, I digress. So it's been in the back of my head as life is shifting. COVID has changed a lot of things. I no longer travel the US speaking for an international company. I have opened 3 more companies. I have had my 3rd or 4th version of a walkout. And if you're not part of the salon profession, a walkout is when you have 3 or more employees all leave at the same time. And I've been through this a few times, and it sucks. And it's hard to watch because I like them. They're beautiful people, and just because they're not in my house doesn't mean I like them less. It means that maybe I'm aware that they weren't meant to be here, and that I'm not meant for them, and that's okay, right? But it's still a lot to process. So, in all of that, I'm having to reassess who I want to be when I grow up. And it's been hard and grueling and sucky and a lot of soul searching. And then I realized that it's not actually hard. It's not actually grueling. And it's not actually sucky. I just have to be willing to admit that it's what I want. You see, the universe is going to conspire to give you whatever you want. But you have to be willing to speak it. You have to be willing to give it. And you have to be willing to let it happen. I don't mind telling the universe what I want. I don't mind telling people what I want. I'm scared that what I want will happen. I'm scared that it will get bigger than I ever dreamed of. I am terrified of being successful because I still live with this innate fear that I don't deserve to live a happy life. And that's hard. And I saw something on Instagram that I really liked this morning, and it's the idea that even the happiest unicorns of people still struggle with hard thoughts. We still struggle with the storms in our heads. And this is one of those moments that I'm reminded of that. Like, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky person. my wife will tell you I shit glitter everywhere I go. And I love being that way. But that's not without a demon or two. That's not without some struggles in my head. So, what do I want to be when I grow up? Well, I want to coach people. I want to change lives. And I want to do it from a healed place. So I've said for years that I want to change lives. I've said for years that I know I have the capacity to change the world. And not because I'm a narcissist, so let me quantify this. If one person watches this video and talks to one other person, I have 2 people. Those 2 people take one bit of information away from this and tell 2 more people. You see how this has a snowball effect, right? So in simplicity, I think that I can change the world. Not because it's my name, but just the ideas that I throw out, right? And ideas that I collect from books, from other people standing on the shoulders of giants, right? But the reality is I haven't always done it from a safe place. I'm reading a book right now and they talk about how coaches accidentally transfer themselves. And that hit home. So now I want to quantify that I want to be able to change lives and I want to be able to give power to people. I think so often we think we're not powerful enough, and I think so often we think we're so broken that we can't move past it. And I want to be that person that helps people succeed. I want to see people so successful beyond their wildest dreams. Their dreams, not my dreams. Their success, not my success. They're happy, not my happy. I want to know what that looks like for them. And I didn't realize that what was getting in my way was transference. So all these stories that I've had to struggle through and all these things that I've had to go through, I was unknowingly transferring to people in coaching sessions. That just feels gross. So I was talking to a guest of mine who happens to be a PhD in psych, and he was like, yeah, we talk about this all the time in psychology, that we as psychologists cannot transfer our feelings or our perceptions or our stories on, our clients when they come in, because that can skew the healing process. Oh, shit. So here's what I don't want to be. I don't want to be the person that I've accidentally been for the last 5 years. I've hurt people. Not intentionally, but it doesn't matter because I still hurt them. I still created pain unnecessarily because I didn't know better. So what do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be somebody that starts to know better. I want to be somebody that allows other people to feel safe. I want to challenge the status quo. So there's a difference between feeling safe and learning better, because nothing good comes from mediocre. Nothing good comes from living in the norm. But there's a safe place you can do that from. I want to be that kind of person. So whether it's a coach or it's a mentor or a speaker, the universe will provide it for me. And that's what I want to be when I grow up. I hope this video or this audio, whichever one you're using, inspires you to think about what you want to be when you grow up. Whether it's your first grow up or your second grow up or what the kids are calling the glow up these days, reach out, let me know. What do you want to be when you grow up? I'm curious. Until next time, I'm Elizabeth Struess.